Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So I was sent these acrylic markers by the Arrtx company. I have a few other brands of acrylic paint markers, but this type that has the brush tip have been in my shopping cart for a while, so I'm really excited to try these out and see how they compare to the other types of markers. This is a box of 30. It says they're water-based and brush tip, bright and opaque, available on different surfaces, meaning you can paint them on different surfaces. All right, so here is the look of the first tray, and then here is the second tray. They do come with stickers. Number stickers that you can put on them anywhere you want. I did put them on, and then after a few minutes they all started to pop off. So what I did was I just took some packing tape, which is a pretty clear tape, and just cut it to size and then just kind of stuck it around, and that way they're nice and stuck on there pretty good. All right, and then this one also comes with some gold and silver metallic ones, so I'll show you those too. They sell on Amazon for about $30. I believe there is another set that has more like pastel colors, so if you're interested in that. Here is the range of colors. I think it's a pretty good range. My only complaint would be these two, 56 and 59, which look almost identical. I would have loved to see a darker green in replace of one of those. So that way you have a light. This is a great, like, normal, like regular green color, and then it would have been nice to have like a dark, deep green. So that would be my only complaint here. But otherwise, all the colors look pretty good. Oh, and the gray is a little bit more on the warm side, like a dark, almost like a brown color. I would have liked to have more of a neutral gray. So, all right, so there's those two things. All right, so the difference in these compared to other acrylic markers. So these are labeled with a brush tip. All right, so it's almost like working with any of your other brush tip type of markers, water-based or acrylic. And then this brand, this is the Ohuhu acrylic paint marker. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you do not have to shake these, or you do not have to push down on the tip. Actually, you probably don't want to push down on these tips because the tip is that nice kind of flexible, soft brush tip. All right, whereas this type of paint marker, it is a hard type of tip. Okay, so even if you press down on it, there's really no flexibility on there, and you do need to shake these up every once in a while. And when you first get them, you have to shake them up and you have to push down on that to get the paint flowing. I've had pretty good luck with these too. I would say the color range on the Arrtx is definitely better. Like, I don't have any good browns in this set, so yeah. But they've been really good, nice and opaque also. So also what I like about this too, when I was kind of playing around with it, they can be a little transparent if you want, but then you can always go back over and then it's not as translucent. It's nice because if you don't want to completely cover up lines in your coloring book, then you can work with that a little bit. I would say that would be more for the lighter colors, not necessarily maybe like the darker colors, but yeah, just nice to have that. All right, so here's a Posca. Posca kind of has that same, more of like a harder tip, and you have to shake and push down on that tip every once in a while to get that ink flowing. So again, there is no flexibility with that tip, whereas these have that nice, soft, flexible tip. All right, so almost like you were using just regular markers. Okay. So how I'm going to demonstrate this for you is I am going to attempt to color a full page in a coloring book. And I picked Kerby Rosanes Fragile World, and I picked this one because I thought it would this page because I thought it would give you a look at like all the colors. So I'm going to try to use all the colors for you. This page also has quite a bit of bleed through from this one. So if you can see, there's some spotting here, up here, and then a lot kind of around the edge over here. So I'm thinking color pencil could probably cover that, but the acrylic paint pens are going to do a much better job of covering up any of that bleed through. If you had really dark bleed through, this might be a good option to consider. All right, so also using these markers in a page, I'm hoping to show you how it blends and layers, how it handles the thick and thin lines. Yeah, so it should be good. I usually start, well, with acrylic paint, starting from the very back of the page and then working my way forward. So some of these things are going to be done last. I also, in my videos, I do a combination of normal speed, speed coloring, and off-camera coloring, but I'll give you some instructions along the way. Apologize, my iPad does not have the storage to do like a start to finish, but I will get you good instruction on how to do most of this and then cut away when it gets very repetitive. But that way at the end I can show you a finished page too. All right, so I hopefully this will be helpful, and yeah, you get to see these really cool markers. All right, let's get started. All right, I'm gonna start with this black to fill in these background spaces. It covers like a Sharpie, but without the bleed through. And as I work closer to the face, I feather it into the fur. And now I'm just filling in the darkest part of the nostril. All right, now for the eyes, I'm going to start with this brown, working it around the outer edge of the eye. And then I'm going to this lighter brown, working my way in towards the pupil. And while the paint is still kind of wet, I'm gonna go for this lighter yellow and try to work that in, blend it out a little bit. It blends a little bit. And then I'm just touching up with this, this is the gray, which is kind of like a dark brown. But yeah, I'm just gonna kind of go back and forth until I get the colors just right. All right, now adding a black for the pupils. I'm going to cover up this whole area and I'll re-add the white for the highlight. I'm also going to use the black to outline the eyes too, around the whole eye part and then like the eyeliner around the lid. All right, I'm using dark purple for the outer edge of the face. I feather it around the bottom layers of the mouth for the shadow, and then roughly color the highlight area with a light purple. For the fur, I'm using a brown to feather around the parts closest to the face and then the outside rim, leaving the center untouched for now. I also paint in some black for a deeper shadow around the face. And I'm just going to do half for you here, and then I'll do the other half off camera. All right, for the purple around the eyes, I used the line art from the artist as a reference, keeping a strong brow line. Light purple for above the brow line, and then I work in the brown fur. All right, and then I don't want to lose these black lines in the nose, so I'm just going to go over with black over the original line a little bit more boldly. All right, and then starting with the darkest blue, I'm just going to follow those black lines and then move to the medium blue and then the lightest blue, layering on top of each other, keeping that shadow and highlight effect, and then adding white for the highlight. Repeat or touch up as needed. For the main part of the nose, I'm going to use the red for around the outer parts of the nose, the edge of the nose, and then working in the orange, going towards the center, and then the very center and highlight will be the peach. Now, creating the main fur texture, I'm using yellow, and I'm going to do a little flicking motion with very light pressure to create the thin lines. I had to practice on another sheet of paper to get the right movement and pressure. And I'm going to concentrate the brush strokes on the area I left white in between the brown, and then feathering it into the brown. All right, here is that portion all complete. Now I'm going to take the black again, and I'm just going to feather in a little bit more black around the edges. The white fur and whiskers are going to be concentrated around the purple mouth area. I wanted to follow those 2 layers around the bottom portion. So I'm going to take the white and again, really light pressure and short little flicks with the very tip of the brush. Now I'm going to add some longer ones and maybe some wild, really long strands. All right, and then to complete that fur-like texture, I'm just going to take the brown again and add a little bit of dotting into that yellow. Okay, I think he's looking a little wild, but still pretty good. I'll do a few of these fruits and leaves for you, and then I'll do the rest off camera. The bananas, I'm starting off with green and then moving to a bright yellow, and then I'll add a few brown spots at the end. All right, for this fruit, I'm gonna start with a medium orange shade, and I'm just gonna kind of act like the top and bottom and the sides are the darkest, and then I'm gonna do a lighter orange, kind of fill in those areas, and then streak with yellow, and then some deeper shadows of orange. All right, for this spiky fruit, I'm going to use the red, and I'm just gonna fill in the whole space with red. I can still see the little texture lines inside through the red, so now I'm going to take this peach color and I'm just going to follow along the lines that I see, adding these little V shapes inside, and that will give it that spiky texture. All right, and then adding just a little few brown dots in there for shadow. All right, for these bean pod looking shapes, I'm starting with brown and I'm following along the texture. So these little bump like shapes. And then I'll go to the side of it, creating those little bump shapes with green. Kind of a, no, this is like the regular green. And then I'm going to almost like a fluorescent yellow green. Again, still maintaining kind of those little bumpy textures. All right, this is just a little bit brighter yellow. And then red to complete the deeper like shadow on the side. Okay, I think everything else I show is pretty easy to understand without me giving a play-by-play, so I'll just let you watch what you want and I'll give my final thoughts at the end. All right, let's take a look at the finished page and I'll give you my thoughts on the Arrtx Acrylic brush markers. First, they are really fun to use. I love the way the brush tip feels. It gives you a very painterly feeling look. I think I used all the colors so you can see the variety here. I just wish there was that darker green. I even added a few strands of the metallic gold and the silver and some of the little hair strands. The darker colors are very opaque, so it's very helpful when coloring in some of these darker background areas. But the lighter colors needed a few extra coats to cover up black lines, but that didn't bother me at all. I found it almost useful in some areas where I didn't want the texture covered up right away. So for instance, in this flower, I started out with the lighter peach there, and I didn't want any of those lines covered up. Let's see. And some of the leaves too, I would start out with a lighter color, and that way I could see the lines of the leaves. The brush tip covers nice big areas, so if I was coloring in here or in here, but it also does really well with fine lines and dots. So as you can see, all those little hair marks were done with fine lines, and then adding the little dots in there too for little details. It did take me a little practice to get my hand used to doing a very light pressure to get those really thin lines, but yeah, it just took some practice. The paint dries really fast. Good for me because I tend to get my hand or arm in paint before it dries. Oh, and there was also a little bit of wear and tear on the brush tip, but not too bad. It was harder to make the colors blend because the paint dries fast, especially in like the berries here. The eye, I had a little issue with not blending in with the darker. The yellow and the orange seemed to do well, but some things you can definitely see there wasn't much of a blend. You can see the lines, not a nice gradient. But again, it doesn't bother me. Let's see. It does layer really nice though. Most of the time I would start out with the darker colors and then light on top, but it works the other way too. So starting with light colors and then adding on dark colors to help create those shadows and highlights. So yeah, either way that worked fine. And I never felt like I was running out of paint either. It all flowed really nicely. Another bonus is that it did not bleed on to the page behind. And it's just very vibrant. It also did not like wrinkle the page like some acrylic washes or watercolors do. So overall, I'm really happy with the product. I would definitely recommend the Arrtx Acrylic brush markers for your coloring book needs. All right, thank you everyone, and hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.